It's a pretty funny thought to have. Like, what would my 16-year-old self, who was like smoking weed with some dude in a pickup truck, think if I would probably be really disappointed if I was like, oh, you're a weed grower now, because I wouldn't know, the intricacies of it. I'd be like, oh, you grow weed for a living? That's it? But knowing the whole story, it's a little more reassuring. So we have quite a few different options in here. The smallest ones being the most appealing to us. And next steps will be filling both of these with product and seeing how much is left.
I mean, it is kind of weird once you get into all of this stuff, like how much effort goes into making all of this shit.
And then selling it for like 7 cents at the end of the day. Crazy. Don't get into the aluminum tube business, kids. All your hard work sold for cents on the dollar. Micah likes to naysay everything. Sometimes even if it's just for the principle of naysaying it.
It's not true. I legitimately think nothing's going to work properly.
Ever?
Ever. For anything.
Unless you did it.
No, none of those things work either. So it flows through the plant matter, and then it creates a solution. So when this turns into a gas when it comes here, all of the oil is separated out at the bottom. Hence its name as separator. So that is concentrated terpenes, cannabinoids, and waxes and lipids, fats from the plant. So basically anything that's soluble in that CO2 that we pump through here gets extracted out and then separated out in this vessel for us to turn into concentrate.
So this is pretty much the final product, and then we take this and package it in little individual glass jars, and this is part of the tubes you saw is what we'll be using instead of the glass jars, is hopefully putting this into little mini toothpaste tubes so you can squeeze everything out in a very mess-free, recyclable way. I grew up in northeastern Wisconsin. It's pretty homogenous, and everyone's encouraged to kind of be the same and be normal and be happy and content with being normal. And that is a very frustrating thing if you don't really want to be normal. And that was a big motivator in my life to leave, was the fact that I didn't really ever want to be normal. I feel like every choice I've made in my life has been like the weird one, or like the one that was thought of as like the dumb choice. Or when I went to fashion school, or decided I was going to major in like apparel design, I made a really weird choice to go be a fashion designer from like this small town where you go to school with the intent of being able to support a family eventually. And I was like, I don't really care if I have a family eventually. I want to do what I love and be able to do that and make a living doing it, which is apparently a really weird way to approach life. Who knew? And then doing this has definitely been like another step in that direction. And I feel like whatever I do after this, there's a lot of pressure to make it something more interesting and something more compelling and something weirder. The kind of great irony about all of this is when I told my grandparents I was going to do this, I expected the opposite response that I got. Again, I expected them to kind of be disapproving and obviously take offense with the whole drug angle. And instead, my grandfather was like, great, always wanted you to go into business. Finally, I've always thought you should be a business owner and like you have a very entrepreneurial streak. And he was like so excited that I was giving up fashion to do this. Some days I like what I'm doing more than others. Some days I'm frustrated because, I left what I was doing. That was really engaging and compelling and interesting, and I got to, travel the world on somebody else's dime and like see things that I never would have seen and stay places I never would have stayed. And it granted me a lot of opportunities that way. But what I have to remember in this is that it's kind of exposed me to a much different perspective in life. And we're actually trying to do something important here. Especially in the first year of doing this, I think there are times where I would be like, oh, I miss my old job. I miss having this creative design job that I just, I spent like all of my life energy up to this point. It felt like working towards that goal, and then I just threw it away to come do this. And here I am, like in the middle of nowhere, growing weed and creating, compelling, fun content. Can feel unimportant, and it also can feel important at the same time. I definitely think we're doing something different. That part I don't really ever question and feel good about that rather than kind of anxious about where we were in our old careers. I've got this thing in the back of my head that like, if it's not interesting and worth remembering, then why bother doing it?